the links to join the channel here over at SubScribestar. So Doctor Who, wearing itself like a skin suit. Sorry, straight Englishmen. Doctor Who is not made for you. An article tied to the Twitter post that was so bad it got community noted, where the community note said, yeah, Doctor Who was intended as a family show, at least in the beginning, and that they deleted their 370K account for some reason. Though some people are theorizing that they might have done that by accident just because they're so incompetent. Like they went to delete the tweet and they deleted the account. I'm sure they'll be back. So the article here is a verbose Marxist word salad that contradicts itself pretty quickly. When Doctor Who got started, England was 95% English. So yes, it was made for a straight English audience. Now, as the demographics rapidly change, it's fallen to 75% English and probably, 98% straight. If the show is not made for them, then who's it made for? And the actors here are, this is a gay black guy, and I think the sidekick is Indian or Pakistani or something. But there's another actor who's a trans, a male identifying trans, is that they're referring to them now, who, a man dresses like a woman in the show. So I guess, like, it's made for that audience, which seems like a pretty small Venn diagram overlap of available people. And it begs the question, does that audience actually exist that wants to see this dog shit propaganda? If so, best of luck. The thing is, they're telling you how they feel. I mean, it's unwatchable. It's absolutely, it's on Disney, and it's, I don't know what it is, but it's not Doctor Who. It's just, Frankfurt School 101 kind of stuff. It's part of the humiliation ritual for a conquered people, the cattle debt slave. Anyway, best of luck with the show, because he's supposed to be English, the Doctor, or at least be able to, pass as English. But you have a gay, black, cross-dressing Doctor. So how does he represent the 75% English audience, or at least the 95+% straight audience? And the writer here, this useful idiot, whatever her name was, made her account private. So she talks about, maybe I should just go through and read this. The whole thing is so bad, it might just be worth reading. She talks about inclusion, but somehow that excludes the majority of the country. The thing with the bullshies here and this whole Frankfurt School is they don't use language where words have a common definition, because then somebody would just discuss things logically with them. So what they do is invent new words or use old words with new but vague and mutable definitions to suit the purpose. That way, they can argue from emotion and never be nailed down on a cross-examination on how contradictory their terms are or how asinine their argument is. So this useful idiot writer talks about inclusion, but it excludes the Europeans who created the show. Weird, because inclusion doesn't actually mean inclusion. It doesn't act as a word that refers to a thing or idea that can be known to anyone with an understanding of the etymology. It really means to promote anti-white racism by marginalizing and oppressing the English people who used to watch the show, which is an interesting idea to start using their words against them. We're an inclusive European community that values the diversity of the European people, Tribe Europa, to empower and uplift the people of the light. I mean, you can just throw off the same Marxist word salad to them, and they're going to look at you like the confused dog expression, like, wait, are they doing this back at us? Yeah, have fun with it. The problem with the right wing is that they don't understand that fighting the culture war requires understanding it and taking part in it and using the left's structures against them, because they'd unfortunately rather play video games, watch sports ball, and drink the corn syrup, all the modern bread and circuses. So anyway, the left applies a concept to something to use it as a political weapon and frame you as istophobic if you disagree. But if you want to win, you could simply call something lighthearted and frivolous gay, and say that you don't think their terms are even real, that it feels like a cultural Bolshevik way to manipulate people. You can keep using the same buzzwords and hot words. In fact, you can just have template responses to a lot of these things against them, as long as you base it all in emotional appeals to emotion-based argument. And then suddenly they'll want to go back to logic and reason. But it's like you didn't start. Once you open the door to that line of questioning, it's all on board. Because basically you're arguing with children who are, unfortunately, in fat adult bodies. If they argue from absurdity and emotion, then so can you. And once you kind of get comfortable with it, it's a lot of fun. And as the culture war morphs into probably an actual war, people are seeing that the entire mainstream media is controlled either by out and out avowed communists or the controlled ops, in quotes, right-wing gatekeepers on our side. And there's very many of them. And there's a spectrum of them. Some are really bad, like what's the Daily Wire? Is that the Ben Shapiro thing? But all of them are, even the ones on YouTube that a lot of our side likes, they're meant to do a lot of red herring. Though every once in a while, some of them will drop some serious red pills, but I almost wonder if it's incidental. It's like games of chess within games of chess with these people. So this useful idiot, who's the guy? Nakuda Gatwa? He was dancing around. I think he was wearing a skirt or something. It's just painful to watch this. So not everyone is excited by such an unapologetically queer black doctor. The way they talk is it will give you AIDS and monkeypox. A vocal contingent took to social media to claim the show had gone too woke. The show had been torn apart by woke ideologies to creating their own social media. Rip Doctor Who. You don't need to go far to find the complaints. She argues the show was always socially progressive and inclusive. Well, they say that about comics as well. But, I mean, you can just simply look back at the old shows or the old comics or the old whatever, and you go, yeah, they were way more light-handed with it, and they were more successful with it. It connected to an audience. And you look at the stuff they're pushing now, like, this is just gay Superman and his boyfriend, and they're carrying a global warming flag, and there's people in hijabs and waving Mexican flags, and it's just it's just every left-wing topical talking point. It's just a bit, everything's on the nose, So she started watching the show 15 years ago. Well, I mean, the show's been on for 60 years. So you're already watching a more modern version of it. Over 60 years, it's cultivated, devoted, why can't I read today? I don't know. Devoted fan, but I did some serious gardening yesterday. I'm going to go back and finish up. I've got to move some squash around. So there's no world too crazy. Okay, so you're talking up the show. So this is a little bit of a straw man here. She goes, it's truly baffling that a non-straight, non-white doctor feels so unbelievable to so many people. Well, that's a straw man because unbelievable, I mean, it's a fictional show. So let me throw this out there. I think the doctor should be a straight Englishman because it feels more inclusive to the diversity of the show. Does it make sense? It doesn't have to. It's all feelings. I feel the doctor should be English. He's not English, and he's wearing a dress. I mean, that feels like you're pandering to some far left toxic woke ideologies. So, and then you had Jodie Whittaker. How well did that show do? What were the numbers on that? Oh, they're absolutely horrible. So what are the numbers on this on Nakuda going to be? Probably even worse. Yeah, I think it's okay to have English people in what was an English show. You don't need to diversify the hell out of everything. Diversity is not a selling point for most people. Neither is girl power. So the Star gave an interview, said, you're so angry over something so inconsequential that you can't be an interesting person. You can't have much in your life. Well, you start off with ad hominems. It doesn't, irrelevance of trolls. It doesn't address the show. It's like, how is the show going to connect with an audience? How does a gay, black, cross-dressing Doctor Who, and there's another, the other trans character in the show, how does that improve the show? And they have to throw in a bunch of Frankfurt School hot words about progression. You go, but most of the audience, those are not their values. They feel those values are, I don't know, all from the spectrum of just unuseful to all the way malicious globalist levels of propaganda. And the thing is, not enough people are honest saying this kind of stuff to them. They just say it's woke, but you can get into specifically what you don't like about it. It feels like globalist propaganda. And when you talk to these people on social media, it is a blast to be as passive aggressive as they are. Just that kind of whiny, passive. I feel marginalized and oppressed and disenfranchised by a show that alienates the fan base and, all that kind of nonsense. It's all, and listen, guys, I say this as a woman of color myself, a BLT woman of color. So another strong man, the bigoted straight white men have spiraled into a meltdown, haven't been paying attention to the multiculturalism and LBLTQ plus inclusion. Paying attention to it. Yeah, it's cancer. Nobody's on board with that. So they brought Doctor Who back in 2005. I remember that. I think that had the redheaded Irish girl was the sidekick. So the show is an outcast for all society. So is it inclusive for everyone or just for people who identify as outcasts? Left-wing sentiment, comment thread throughout the series. Well, whatever people were doing to the past was working. I don't remember queer companion. Nobody's on board. Gross. How does this improve Doctor Who? It doesn't, and they don't have an answer for that. The BLT characters, obviously that's just something topical. Most of the audience is not BLT, and I mean you're just going to see the numbers crater because everything is just racist backlash. The thing is, we don't even believe in the concept the way they're using it, and they never define anything, and on purpose. It's okay to say that you have group preferences and that you want to see a show or a story as it was intended. In this case, an English show with English people. And if it just feels like nothing when you watch a show that has, there's a black, Indian, trans character, a gay character, a Chinese character. It's like, well, what is it? What does it connect to? What are they fighting for? It's just economic zone globalist propaganda. It doesn't, they're not sacrificing for, hey, look, there's an interracial relationship and they have a black trans son or daughter or whatever it identifies as. Nobody connects to that because most people look at that as, one, it just doesn't, the numbers of it existence are too small, and two, they look at it negatively, and that's our right to look at it negatively, or maybe negatively is too strong because I think there's a lot of libertarians out there who just go, just live your life, but it's not positive. I'll say that, and they certainly don't want to see it in on a show that it didn't used to be like this, where the guy says something about a male presenting doctor wouldn't understand it. But you're a male. Male presenting. I mean, you're both men. You're both males. So you wearing lipstick and a dress changes something. I mean, that just feels so fucking heavy-handed. It's painful. I mean, it's video monkeypox, and Anyway, diversity not a selling point. The BLT themes are not a selling point. Every once in a while, I think I say this to someone who's vaguely on the right for some things. You can sneak in a funny gay character, but the trans is just a bridge too far for people, and there's too much diversity. People are people don't want to see diversity. They don't want to see trans everything. They want to see their own tribe. And England is, still 70+% English. They want to see English people on what was an English show. I mean, you can just create something new, but obviously, there's still a long way to go to make Doctor Who diverse, both in front. So this is just propaganda when you have a checklist, the Bechdel test for chicks, or Hollywood, American Hollywood. This is Disney, so I guess it is American Hollywood, where they have checklists for different races, but not, of course, the European races for some reason. The European sub-ethnicities. It's just big groups of people meant to be anti-white, to exclude. Yeah, monero, he's a white man. What is it? The showrunners, what, the producer and director type of stuff? Yeah, this is way, way too diverse. I don't want to see any. Oh, wait, she's a lesbian in the show? An interracial lesbian relationship. Jesus. Yeah, no wonder nobody's watching this crap. This is fucking horrible. Anyway, so everything is just fucking degenerate these days. Are we in Weimar? Holy shit, we're on Weimar. I'm just so tired of all this stuff. Oh, the screwdriver looks like a dildo or something. I don't remember what it looks like. Where's that going with this? It's all just fucking developmentally disabled and just globalist propaganda. Oh, anyway, so their Twitter account has been deleted, but I'm sure they're going to bring it back in a day or two. Anyway, God, she goes on for a long time. Doctor Who matters for people of color. Well, marginalized people. Well, none of that. Like, people of color just means you're just saying non-English people. And marginalized people, well, who does that mean? Anyone and everyone's marginalized. I think the English people themselves, European people, are marginalized. Why? Because I feel it. It's like, oh, those feelings aren't valid, but our feelings are. Well, it's all nonsense. Like, once you're off the table of objective facts and logical rhetoric, you're just in this appeal to emotion. Everything's going to be absurdity. Anyway, this chick seems like an anti-white useful idiot. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on SubScribeStar.